Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, a storm system of epic proportions hits the south, leaving death and destruction in its wake. There are a lot of chainsaws being used, and the cleanup will remind you of how to use them safely.
French fried sweet potatoes are becoming popular, and Mississippi sweet potatoes are helping fill that demand. In the markets, poultry production is up in the U.S. despite corn prices. Catfish supplies are short. John Michael Riley will offer his take on what that means for the industry.
In the feature segment, it started 20 years ago and it's turned into an institution. It's the annual Rice Luncheon in Cleveland, Mississippi. It celebrates the good taste of rice and the economic contribution it makes.
We as rice farmers appreciate the hard work that the Delta Promotions do for this rice luncheon and promote people eating rice. It is good for the economy of not only the Delta of Mississippi.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
Thunderstorms and tornadoes raked the South and Mississippi on Tuesday and Wednesday.
And it's happened in the midst of us putting Farm Week together this week, so we will have more coverage on next week's show.
At this time, and we're actually producing Farm Week on Thursday, the death toll in Mississippi is placed at 32. Many of you in Alabama watch us, and of course the casualty rate is even higher there. The town of Smithville, Mississippi, located northeast of Amory, was hit extremely hard with multiple fatalities. It's located in Monroe County, where at least 13 deaths have been reported. An organized search and rescue effort will continue there today. 50 of Mississippi's 82 counties reported some sort of damage from this week's storms. We'll have much more on next week's Farm Week. At least 173 people were killed in the southern tornado outbreak. It will be one for the record books, and the memories will remain fresh for a long time.
Well, there will be a lot of chainsaws in use in the coming days. They're effective at removing downed trees, but their very effectiveness makes them a dangerous tool. Next, we have a story on using chainsaws safely. Farm Week's Brian Utley produced it several years ago, back in the days of standard definition television. Its information, however, is still valid.
Professional loggers follow a strict safety regimen while cutting trees in the woods. The same precautions should be taken by consumers using chainsaws to clean up after storm damage or to cut down rotten trees. John Owl of the Forestry Department at Mississippi State University helped compile a list of chainsaw do's and don'ts that should be consulted before each use. First, make sure to wear proper protective equipment. This includes gloves, calf-length steel-toed boots, safety goggles, a helmet that includes hearing protection and face shield, and chainsaw chaps that will protect the legs if the saw happens to kick back onto them.
And run it across the top of your leg.
Before using a chainsaw, make sure that it is equipped with a chain brake.
Don't purchase any saw that does not have an operable chain brake. A lot of the smaller homeowner saw will just have a plastic guard here. You want to make sure you can stop that chain if something happens.
Never use the jump start method to start a chainsaw.
Two very improper ways to start a saw are the modified jump start, which is this, and the full jump start, which is hand on the trigger, throwing the saw head down.
A proper way to start the saw is to keep one foot on the back of the saw, set the chain brake, and pull up on the starter cord. Or brace the saw handle between the knees, as seen here, and then pull the starter cord. Another safety rule is to never work alone.
Anything can happen, and you want two people there, one in a safe area where you can watch what you're doing. And if that tree rolls over to the side the wrong way, pins you down onto the ground, you can't get out without somebody's help.
When cutting down a tree, always assess which way it will fall and plan 2 clear escape routes.
You want to clear 2 escape paths, 45 degrees at 45-degree angles. You never want to run directly behind the direction of fall because a tree can kick up and kick back. And as soon as you see that tree start to fall, you want to pull that saw out, cut it off, and just head down that escape path. Don't watch it fall. If you want to watch trees fall, watch somebody else cut from a safe distance.
Always keep an eye on the tip of the bar when using a chainsaw.
The tip is where you want to be. You always want to look out for this portion of the bar. That's your danger point on this chainsaw. Is if you jam that in to a piece of wood, it's going to kick right back up in your face, or it's going to kick right back up towards you.
Al also advises to take lots of breaks when cutting and to call on a professional if you are unsure of your ability to get the job done. From Mississippi State University, I'm Brian Utley reporting.
Sweet potato French fries are continuing to grow in popularity with consumers and the food service industry. The trend has brought better prices to Mississippi sweet potato farmers and created more of a year-round market for the food. More and more Mississippi sweet potatoes are being used to make French fries that are frozen and sold to grocery stores and restaurants.
And it's really grown significantly over the last year due to a new plant that was built by ConAgra in Delhi, Louisiana. Other companies like McCain Foods and Bright Harvest Sweet Potato Company are into the sweet potato fry production as well.
The new ConAgra processing plant in northeast Louisiana is less than 240 miles from Vardaman, Mississippi's sweet potato capital in Calhoun County.
They're sourcing a lot of Mississippi sweet potatoes are going into that plant specifically to make the sweet potato French fry, and that is going out across the U.S. into many of the food service markets that they've developed.
At Pinnock Produce, one of the Vardaman companies supplying the processors, the increase in the fry segment is significant. Rob Langston says that up to 50% of the product they sell is now destined for the sweet potato fry product. That's up from 25% about 3 years ago. The jumbo is the type of sweet potato desired the most by processors making French fries. A 2 1/4 inch diameter potato is considered the minimum size.
There's more volume inside, so therefore they lose less product in their peeling process. And they love these. When they get a truckload of these, they love these at the processing plant.
Perhaps the best part of this development for Mississippi agriculture is money. Growers are receiving more dollars for the sweet potatoes they harvest.
Yes, sir, it's a significant increase in what the farmer receives and is able to put back in his bank account at the end of the year when he gets through with his harvest.
They're really good.
Supplying product for this growing segment of the sweet potato industry is a year-round proposition for produce companies. Additional storage facilities in the state for potatoes may be required as demand increases. From Vardaman, Mississippi, I'm Leighton Spann reporting.
Now, normally at this time we have a Southern gardening segment, but due to the storm and the time constraints that's put on us, we don't have one today, but it will be back next week. In our feature segment today, the annual Mississippi Rice Luncheon in Cleveland. It celebrated its 20th anniversary last fall. The event showcases rice's good taste and economic contributions. Time now for the markets with Leighton. And Leighton, catfish supplies are down, but prices are up.
That's right, artist. Economist John Michael Riley will have some analysis of this subject in a moment. Also ahead, U.S. chicken production was up in March. World cotton prices skid at midweek as the soybean supply and demand balance sheet may change. We begin on the livestock side. In the poultry segment, the government says that heavier live weights and increased slaughter levels combined to bump up chicken production in the United States last month. March production was up 5% compared to 1 year ago. The USDA report also indicates that live weight was up 4% for chicken during the month compared to 2010. The average live weight of all chicken processed in the U.S. in March was 5 3/4 pounds. That's 2% heavier than March a year ago. As we reported here last week, there is less farm-raised catfish in the pipeline these days, but pond bank prices are higher for producers. Extension Ag economist John Michael Riley provided some analysis about aquaculture late Thursday morning. John Michael, you were sharing with me, even the mainstream media has got the attention of the catfish situation. South sings the catfish blues earlier in April. Prices were actually on the rise prior to we got into 2011, right? Even in 2010.
That's right. They were gradually increasing as we moved out of 2010. They've continued that pace here in 2011. Just look at the past 3 months, January, February, March. The average price that we're looking at, the farm gate price, is right at 98 cents. So somewhat of a relief for our catfish farmers here in the state and across the South.
But as you described it, this is kind of putting pressure on another facet of the industry, the restaurants, the food service, because they're having to pay more, and then it comes up to the question, how much pressure can the market bear, so to speak?
That's the 600-pound gorilla in the room. You look at, we've had a huge reduction in water acres, 13% just from 2010 versus 2009 across Mississippi, and the same number across the U.S. So you've got a reduction in supply that's taken place, and the question mark is demand. We've seen processor sales shrink, and that's hitting the restaurants that are trying to procure this catfish. They're starting to have some trouble getting their hands on it, and that's leading to higher prices at the processor level. The question is, do the menu prices at the restaurants change? I've seen it take place here in Starkville, and was down at Long's in Enterprise, Mississippi a week and a half ago, and they said they're going to eventually have to increase those prices as well. So the question is, will demand be able to handle that price increase?
All right, let's go back to the source supply here for a moment. Water acres in Mississippi, do we expect that to stabilize? Do you see we're kind of at a plateau now?
Off the cuff, yeah, I think so. The question is, if these prices don't continue to increase, as feed prices increase, then I think we're going to continue to see a reduction. But as long as we've got catfish prices at the farm competing with the feed prices, the main input costs there, I think the producers can handle it and can stay in business. But again, that's the big if.
But you mentioned feed costs. That is not likely to change. That portion of this equation, when you talk about the feed, the different ingredients that go into catfish feed.
It's been on the increase, up about 20%. April 2010 it hit a low point, and it's been on the rise ever since. And again, it's not looking very good. And as we start thinking about what that price is going to continue to do throughout 2011 and even future months, I think it's going to continue to increase as well. So we need catfish prices to at least maintain some strength.
Looking at the beef sector in the markets now, feeder cattle futures posted a strong rebound on Wednesday afternoon. Drover's Cattle Network attributes that development to a combination of lower corn futures and sharply higher live cattle futures. Cattle Network advises wild price swings could be coming as traders try to decipher the effects of outside market influences. Next up, a livestock-related trivia quiz to end one month and begin another. Here it is. How many goats are there in Mississippi? That's the question this week. The answer is 19,000 or 25,000, 31,000 or 42,000 goats. We'll have that answer here shortly.
We're going to pause now for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the second part of the markets. Leighton Spann reports there's a big break in cotton prices, and wheat prices aren't doing well as well. In the feature segment today, the Mississippi Rice Luncheon in Cleveland. This Delta institution is now 20 years old.
Each year, many Mississippians are seriously injured or killed when farm tractors overturn. One cause of these accidents is improper hitching. If a tractor is hitched at any point above the drawbar, it can flip over backwards. Never hitch a tractor using the bar between the three-point hitch upper and lower links or at the top link attachment point. The stationary drawbar is the only safe location for tractor hitching. A message from the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. A short course on forest and wildlife management for profit and recreation takes place on 3 Tuesday evenings, May 3rd through the 17th. The location is the Yalobusha County Extension Service office on Highway 7 at Coffeyville. You'll learn about some myths regarding wildlife and timber, as well as thinning and available landowner programs. 2 grazing schools are set for Mississippi livestock farmers. Participants will learn about forage and grazing management. There will also be demonstrations of fencing, hay management, and many other things. The first one takes place Thursday, May 26th. Cost is $20, and that includes lunch. Its location is the Lincoln County Multi-Purpose Center at Brookhaven, Mississippi. And then the second spring grazing school is a week later on Thursday, June 2nd takes place at the Prairie Research Unit of Mississippi State University. That's located at Prairie, west of Aberdeen. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this Farm Week snapshot.
World cotton prices, as measured by the Cotlook-A index, recorded the biggest one-day break in history on Wednesday. Heavy pressure on international values amid a lack of physical demand for cotton contributed to what DTN described as panic selling in the cotton futures. Even before Wednesday, analyst Jamie Kohaki had advised getting more aggressive on making new crop sales of cotton.
I like selling about the 10 to 15 cent rally. The last 2 weeks in the old crop, July, we've lost $30.
Right.
We had a triple top at 198 about 2 weeks ago, and we've just fallen out of bed since then. Exports are very slow. The weak dollar hasn't helped out much at all. I think you saw the old crop in July up at 180 on a short covering rally. Same thing with the D, sell 10 to 50 or 10 cent to 15 cent rally there.
Turning to soybeans, there is some discussion around the country that planting delays could have a dramatic effect on the bean sector. DTN reports there's a chance that more soybean acres could be planted if it becomes too late to plant corn and other spring crops such as wheat. Demand is also said to be a factor, especially if China curtails the amount of U.S. beans that it normally purchases. Analysts say that if these situations do happen, the soybean supply-demand balance sheet will have a different look. Well, there's no rebound for wheat to talk about this week. Wheat futures tumbled on Wednesday afternoon. Analysts at Dow Jones Newswire say it was a result of investors reducing risk exposure, along with weather conditions that should ease stress to crops in the U.S. and Europe. Wheat for July delivery ended down 4.1% at the Chicago Board of Trade Wednesday. We conclude the markets with the answer to our goat-related trivia quiz that we posed. C is the correct choice. There are 28,000 meat goats in Mississippi, along with 3,000 milk goats. That makes for a grand total of 31,000.
A tradition celebrating one of the Mississippi Delta's agricultural commodities is still going strong after 20 years. Last September, the Mississippi Rice Luncheon attracted 2,000 people to Delta State University in Cleveland. It's every year on the third Friday in September. Delta Rice Promotions Incorporated, a group of agricultural and local business organizations, puts on the event. The 2010 luncheon invited well-known chef Robert St. John of Hattiesburg, Mississippi, to help it celebrate. Farm Week's Amy Taylor reports.
With about 200,000 acres of rice being planted in Mississippi each year, it's easy to see why the crop is so highly valued, especially in the Delta. Rice is grown in much of the state's northeast area and ranks among Mississippi's top agricultural exports. To educate the public and celebrate the influence of Mississippi rice, the annual National Rice Month Luncheon is held at Delta State University in Cleveland. Dr. Martha Ray Sarter, former 4-H youth development specialist for Mississippi State University Extension, was among the first to bring the luncheon to life.
20 years ago, when we were working with the USA Rice Council, they had proclaimed the first ever National Rice Month. And I was the extension home economist, and I worked with a county ag agent named Joe Love. And we just thought, since Bolivar County grew 1/3 of the state's rice, that we needed to do something to celebrate the first ever proclaimed National Rice Month. And the idea became to have a rice luncheon. And it grew out of something Farm Bureau had done in the past. And so we decided maybe it was time to bring it up a notch.
The luncheon was a success, meeting the goal of drawing 1,000 people. Tickets sold for $2 each, and they're the same price today. The event is hosted by Delta Rice Promotions Incorporated, which was also formed 20 years ago to promote Delta rice. The group is made up of MSU Extension personnel, Farm Bureau members, and other community leaders. Dr. Sarter says the group fortunately had no trouble promoting the luncheon.
It was very easy. The Delta's a very social place. We do things around food. We do it around friends. And so it was a natural for this community and for the whole community of the Delta. We advertised it throughout the rice counties. We got the assistance for the food for all 13 counties, and it was advertised statewide through newspapers. We didn't have the internet like we do today. It was in its infancy, but we just got the word out just through good media efforts.
The annual National Rice Month Luncheon continues to grow, reaching a record this year of over 2,000 people. Rice farmer Ronnie Aguzzi says he's glad the community recognizes rice production in Mississippi.
We as rice farmers appreciate the hard work that the Delta Promotions do for this rice luncheon and promote people eating rice. It is good for the economy of not only the Delta of Mississippi.
The state's annual rice crop contributes about $144 million to Mississippi's economy. The rice-growing families and local Delta restaurants brought over 300 rice dishes to the luncheon, featuring various entrees, side items, and even desserts. Laura Jacalia, MSU Extension Bolivar County Director, says an event on this scale requires a great deal of planning.
I mean, in all honesty, we actually started back, say, last April or May to plan this event. We formed subcommittees to put on Delta Rice Promotions Luncheon, and so everybody just works together in their little subcommittee. This year, we decided to make it more like a birthday party, and as a matter of fact, we have a cake that will serve 350 people, and it is a replica of a rice field. The lady did an awesome job, and so I hate to cut it.
In addition to the massive birthday cake, the event showcased a cooking demonstration with Chef Robert St. John, who has appeared on the Food Network, Travel Channel, and Turner South Network. Jacalia explains why it was a perfect highlight.
St. John is from the South, and so it's what better way to help us promote rice than to invite a Southern chef here that knows all about the Delta.
The demonstration featured Cajun dishes cooked with rice. In addition to television appearances, Chef St. John has authored several cookbooks, written food columns, and runs Mississippi restaurants, Purple Parrot Cafe, Crescent City Grill, and Mahogany Bar. He ended with an excerpt from one of his books where he jokes about why it could be a good thing that certain people don't visit the South because of their false conceptions.
Out of everything I've written, this piece has probably gotten the most notoriety of anything I've ever done. This is based on an epiphany I had, and it's called My South. I'm always amused by Hollywood's interpretation of the South. We are still on occasion depicted as a collective group of sweaty, stupid, backwards-minded, and racist rednecks. The South of movies and TV, the Hollywood South, is not my South. My South is full of honest, hard-working people. My South is colorblind. My South is the birthplace of blues and jazz and rock and roll. It has banjo pickers and fiddle players, but it also has B.B. King, Muddy Waters, the Allman Brothers, Emmylou Harris, and Elvis. My South is hot. In my South, football is king, and the Southeastern Conference is the kingdom. In my South, family matters deeply. In my South, the tea is iced and almost as sweet as the women. In my South, the only person that has to sit on the back of the bus is the last person that got on the bus. In my South, people still say yes ma'am, no ma'am, please, and thank you. In my South, we all wear shoes most of the time. My South is the best kept secret in the country. Keep the secret. It keeps the jerks out. Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
St. John stayed to sign books and mingle with visitors. Laura Jacalia says nutritional information on rice was also available, as well as medical services.
We have Bolivar Medical, we have Delta State with their nursing staff and also their food and nutrition staff. They're here today taking blood pressure and checking cholesterol. We also, of course, have the ag lending agencies here with us today, Farm Bureau, Land Bank, USA Rice Federation, and U.S. Rice Producers.
Jacalia says she's proud that Delta Rice Promotions Incorporated put on the most unique rice luncheon yet. Dr. Martha Ray Sauter says she's happy to see the tradition live on.
The rice community that put this together has really done a great job in continuing this event, and I'm just honored that they invited me back this year.
The grand additions to this year's annual National Rice Month Luncheon prove the tradition of honoring Mississippi rice will live on for years to come. From Delta State University, I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
And you can watch this story again on our Farm Week website. Farm Week is also on YouTube. You can type Farm Week with quotation marks, no spaces, in the search box, and you will find us. And we're, of course, at farmweek.msucares.com. And Leighton, I remember going to the first one over there, and of course I've been to many of them as well. And it's a great event because the local community loves to be out there. You see the people.
Oh, yeah.
It's
amazing if you've never been.
They look forward to it every year. And if you like rice like I do, it's great because there's so many different that you can check on. So anyway, third Friday of September, be in Cleveland, Mississippi. Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, the Howard 4-H Therapeutic Riding Center at West Point, Mississippi.
That riding program helps young people with disabilities. It's produced dramatic results for some riders. Mississippi Women for Agriculture wants any women involved in farming or agribusiness to improve their business skills and network together. And in Southern Gardening, native azaleas.
And if you'd like further information on a Farm Week story, you can write us or you can go to our webpage. Our address is Farm Week Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762. That's Farm Week Box 9625, Mississippi State, Mississippi 39762. Our telephone number 662-325-2262. That's 662-325-2262. You can also get in touch with us through your Mississippi State University Extension Service office. For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.